All right, team, let's continue with our project deployment part. We already went through the development part. And after the development part, we had seen how can we create a model file, that is pickle file, which can be reused by anyone who wants to make some predictions using the same model that I had trained, right? But there are some challenges while sharing your model file. What are those challenges? Let's see. I had used few things while developing, or few Python modules while developing a model. Okay, like for example, I had used NumPy, I had used pandas. Okay, thereafter for the model saving, I had used joblib, right, scikit-learn. Okay, so these things we had used. Now these things are basically installed in my system. All right, they are installed where? They are installed in my system. Nice. Now if someone wants to use my model, okay, so these things should be there in their system as well. Okay, that is what we want. For example, if suppose I had given my classification.pkl, okay, classification.pkl to someone else, and I said that this is the train model. Using this model file, you can predict to whom loans should be approved, to whom loans should not be approved. But when the person started using it, the person may face a problem related to dependencies. Okay, dependencies means what? These are called dependencies, right? It's like his system or her system may show that you are not having some of the dependencies such as NumPy, Pandas, Joblib or scikit-learn to use this model. Why? Because this model has been created using these dependencies, right? So that kind of challenge one can face. Now let's suppose that if suppose the person is already having these modules, then also then can be some challenge such as the version issue. I may be using version 2.0.2, okay, and the person to whom I had given may be using some other version. So that kind of challenges also will be there. So that how we can solve that challenge. Next, if I have to test that whether my model file will work in any system or not, okay, how can I be sure? Okay, because my model file, when I created the model file, I had not created for my own system, right? It is going to be used at server system. It may be used in my friend system. It may be used while creating any website, any application. So it will be reused at a lot of places, right? Now the question is, how can I test whether it will work in all the system or not? So these two things we are going to explore over here. My name is Bipul and I will be there with you for this particular module. Now let's see. To test all these things, what we do, we work on something that is called virtual environment. Now what is virtual environment? See, in your system we have so many dependencies, as I said. Okay, so NumPy, pandas kind of thing, right? So I'll create a virtual environment which will be isolated from these guys. Okay, that means this virtual environment knows nothing about any other kind of dependency that I am already having. Okay, this thing don't know anything. Okay, so I'll do what? I'll run my file within this virtual environment, or run my model file within this virtual environment to check whether my model file is working or not, right? So if it will work, it's good. If it will not work, then we need to understand why it is not working. Okay, why? Definitely it will not work. Why? Because in this virtual environment is what? Isolated from the root environment. As it is isolated from the root environment, this virtual environment is not having NumPy, Pandas, Joblib, scikit-learn, anything which pickle file required, with this model file required. So obviously it will not work. Any of my model file will not work within this virtual environment. So this virtual environment you can consider as any other system, or you can consider this thing as a server system as well. Okay, that means if my model file is not working over here, then it will definitely not work on the server system or any other system. Then what can we do? We can, whenever we create a model file, okay, like classification.pkl file, okay, so what we do with this file, we will create one more file which is called requirements.txt. Requirements.txt. Now what this guy will do? This guy will have the list of all the dependencies. Okay, list of all dependencies. Okay, so that means in my package these two entity will be there. Okay, this list of dependency actually tell this particular virtual environment that you need to install all these dependencies first. Again, I'm repeating. When creating the package for my project, I will first create classification.pkl. Next, I create requirements.txt. Requirements.txt will have a list of all the dependencies. So when I give this package to anyone, or suppose to my friend or to my operation team who is going to deploy it, so operation team know that these files or these modules needs to be installed first, then only this will work. Okay, so we have two solutions. First, we will create the virtual environment. Next, we'll test our model file on the virtual environment. Okay, so how can we create a virtual environment? So let's check. We will create the virtual environment through command prompt. All right, so I'll just open the command prompt. See, so here we'll type over here Python m, okay, in pip install virtual environment. So what this guy will do, this guy will install a required library virtual env, which can let me create a virtual environment in my system. So it will take some time to install. It is already there in my system. It's good. If it is not there, it will get installed. To check if it is installed or not, I can just check the version of it. Virtual environment version. Okay, so it's a version is there. Now I'll do what, I'll create a new virtual environment. So for creating a virtual environment, what I do, I'll just call over here virtual env and the name of the virtual environment that I want to use. Let's say ML package. Okay, so this is the virtual environment that I created. Okay, now in this virtual environment, I need to check whether my model file is working or not working. So first I need to activate it. So how can I activate it? So for activating, I have to call it ML package. All right, slash scripts slash activate. When I call it, your virtual environment will get activated. Now let's test whether my model file is working or not. So I'll go to D drive. In the D drive, I have a folder which is called packaging demo, in which I created all my project, right? So I'll do what, cd packaging demo, right? In this folder, I have a folder called ML project. So I'll go to cd ML project. All right. Thereafter, in this, I have a loan app. Okay, so I'll go cd loan app. Okay. Thereafter, in this thing, I have something called training pipeline.py. So let's execute Python training pipeline.py. So it's showing an error. What I told, it is showing an error because now I am running it in my virtual environment, not in my root system. An error is what, numpy. If I'll run in root system, then what happened? Let's check. I'll go to the folder where this is installed. I'll go to the folder where I created my project, right? See, this is a folder in which my project is there, ML project loan app. Okay, and here I have a training pipeline. I'll just trigger the command prompt over here. All right. So when I trigger the command prompt will be initiated at this location. Okay, so this is my root directory. You can see. Now here, if I run Python training pipeline.py, it's not showing any error, right? Because now I'm running in root directory. That means my system, it is directly accessing the root directory of my system in which numpy is already there, right? If I'll run predict.py, that will also work, right? So what it means, that means in my root system it's working, but in my virtual directory this guy is not working. So consider virtual directory as a server system, or you can consider it as your friend system. That means if you give your model to the server system or a friend system, it may not work, because The operation team is not knowing that what kind of modules you had used, what kind of modules required for this project. Okay, your friend may not be knowing what kind of modules you had used and what kind of module required for this thing. So if they are not knowing what I need to do, I need to tell them. So how can I tell them? To tell them, I need to create a file over here in my project directory as a requirements.txt. Okay, so here this is my loan app. In ML project, I'll create something called requirements.txt. All right. Now what I have to mention in requirements.txt? I have to mention all those modules that we had used while developing our project. That means the loan app project. So how do we know that what are the modules I have used? Right. See, while developing the project, you must have imported all those modules that you want to use, right? So I'll show you. See, this was the project we created in this thing, notepad, Jupyter notebook. So here, if you see, these are the modules we have used, right? So what I will do, I'll just take this thing that NumPy I have to use. So NumPy I'll copy and I'll paste it here. The version of NumPy is what? If you check, 2.0.2, right? So I'll paste it where? I'll paste it in requirements.txt. Okay, double equals to 2.0.2. All right. Same way, I'll just mention all other models that I have used. All right. So what is your pandas? Pandas is 2.2.3, right? So I'll write pandas 2.2.3. Okay. Thereafter, we have over here joblib 1.4.2. 1.4.2, right? So you can check any version like by importing and then dot double underscore version double underscore. So you'll get the versions, right? That is very simple to work with. Next, what we required? scikit-learn. So let's say scikit-learn, that is sklearn. So scikit-learn version I have used, let me check once, 1.6.0, right? Next, we have scipy. The scipy version that I have is what? 1.14.1. 1.14.1. Thereafter, I have setup tools. So for the setup tool, which will be used later on, as of now, I have not used setup tools. It will be used to create the distribution package. So for setup tools, we have 55.7.4.0. Next, there is a module called wheel that is also used in the backend while you create the distribution file. So for the wheel, it's 0.45.1. All right. So this is the requirements.txt that we have created. Right. So how it can be used? Let's see. Now again, I'll get back to the virtual environment. Okay. So this is a virtual environment, right? Now, if I see over here in my model file, do we have requirement.txt? No, because requirements.txt is existing in what? In this folder. So I'll get back one step back, cd. Okay. And then I'll check requirements.txt. So whatever the modules mentioned over here, I have to install them. Okay. Otherwise, my file will not work, right? So I'll do what? Python, pip install our requirements.txt. All right, done. Now it will take some time to install all those modules that we have mentioned and the version that I have mentioned. All those versions will get installed one by one. Let's see. So it get installed. Now I'll check my files or the Python file that I created. So I need to move to loan app. So let's see. Okay, and then I have over here the training pipeline. So I'll do what? I'll just run Python training pipeline .py. Now you can see I'm working in this virtual environment, right? Still things will work properly. Okay, there is no error that I'll get because I have installed all the dependencies. If I'll run over here prediction.py, predict.py, the file name is predict.py. So then also it worked. Okay, so here it is working, right? So it means what? If you have created any project, how do you check that whether your project will run in any foreign system or not? You first create a virtual environment. In this virtual environment, you'll check your project. But before checking your project, you do create requirements.txt within your project file, requirement.txt. You just run the requirement.txt over here as your pip install, right? Then all the dependencies will get installed, and thereafter your project will execute smoothly. That means when you create a package, you have to create pickle file, that is your model file, and requirement.txt should also be there before you can distribute it to the distribute it for installation or to be used in any other system. It may be a server system, it may be your friend system, or it may be your kind of your own system, wherever you want to use it, right? So this is how requirements.txt and virtual environment actually works. In the next session, we'll discuss on PyTest and final creating a setup, or you can say running the setup tools to create a distribution file or the installable file for your project. So stay tuned, keep learning, and stay safe.